This is James Jackson Museum of African American History. We're glad to have you before us today, and we have one of our primary wonderful citizens that I have known for years, Gladys Givan. And she's a young 99. And she's here to tell us about her history in Muskegon and her own personal history. Gladys?
Yes.
When did you come here?
I came to Muskegon in 1943. I had a friend here in Muskegon who heard about the city, Muskegon Heights, needing a skilled worker to work in the public housing project that they were opening up for blacks, called Fairview Homes.
Yeah, we have a display on the wall here of the beginning of Fairview Home, because my understanding that African Americans did not have a place to stay here, and they were, and we were staying in all kind of run-down places, boxcars.
Yeah, there was almost no housing for African Americans at that time. And the government, the city of Muskegon Heights needed workers here to work in, work in the foundries to make war material. And they needed somebody to work in the office to register these people and rent them these housing, Fairview Homes.
Was this a separate place in the city office, or was this a particular agency of the city office?
It was for blacks. It was open occupancy, but it ended up with all blacks because they're the ones who needed this housing.
And then sometimes whites were afraid to move around us. You know how that was. Okay, so tell me how you found it when you came here.
How I found it?
What was it like?
After you live 99 years, you forget some things. But it was, what was it like? There were not too many blacks here. But those who were here were working in the in the foundries, in the factories that were here to make war.
Where were you living when you came?
Where did I live? I lived in, I was a resident manager in the Fairview Home project. That's where I stayed.
And that was right off Getty and Sherman, around that area?
Yes.
Okay. Did you find much prejudice when you came here?
The schools were integrated. There were places that just didn't hire African Americans. Yes, there was prejudice here.
How about for housing? Could our people move anywhere?
No.
So what did you, how successful you were in doing the Fairview housing?
Well, it was always full because that was the best housing for blacks here in Muskegon Heights. So we had no problem in keeping it occupied.
How much did it cost people to live there? Do you remember that?
There was it depended on their income, what they could afford. A 2-bedroom unit was, as I remember, was $48 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment.
Did you have much problems there?
No. There was no problem in collecting the rent.
No problem collecting the rent.
Because people were glad to be in this decent housing.
Yeah, tell me this now. What were the streets like, and what was the Muskegon Heights like at that time?
What were the streets like?
Yeah, was there a lot of trees? Were there dirt roads? Or were there asphalt roads? And what kind of transportation?
There was, I was trying to think if there was a, there were buses, but I think that there was a railroad in Muskegon Heights. Well, yes, there still is.
The railroad went through the city. That's what it usually went through, the poor area or the black area. They put a track right through the middle of town.
Yeah.
And that's what they did here. In fact, we can see it from here. By City Hall, there's still a track. There was there much problems out in the street at that time, like
crime?
Crime, yeah.
No.
You could leave your house open?
We could. No, there was very little crime, as I can remember.
Let me ask you this. Do you remember the churches that were here, were not here or were here?
Philip Chapel was here, and that's the church that I joined when I got here. And I sent my son to the Sunday school of Philip Chapel, AME Church. And it was, where was it located? It was not a very, it was like a storefront.
Yeah, yeah. When you beginning and starting a religion, you have to have a place to dwell in, and a lot of times they use the storefront because it's more reasonable. Yeah. Okay, so what did you do for entertainment then?
There, let's see, there was a movie. We made our own entertainment. A group formed a club called the Iconic Bridge Club.
Where was that?
Where was it?
Yeah.
It was made up of mostly the people, professional. There was a doctor came and teachers.
You had a black doctor here?
Yes.
Was that Dr. Garland?
That was Dr. Garland.
All right. And so what else did you do for entertainment?
We there was a nightclub, as it was called, down in Muskegon, run by...
Farmer's Market down there?
Yes, and it was owned by Mr. Brown.
Oh, yes. Ruby
Then,
Brown.
What was it? Paige Brown was the first manager of Fairview Homes. And he had a brother
Was he white or black?
who,
The manager.
Paige Brown, was black.
Okay.
He was the manager of Fairview Homes. Do you know Mr. Brown, who had the nightclub down there?
Yeah, it was before my time, but I know he had the nightclub down there, and then eventually Ruby Brown.
That's who I was thinking of.
Ruby Brown?
Ruby Brown.
Yeah, and he kind of took it over and had it down and
And that's where we went for entertainment. And music, black musicians, and
was the Urban League here at that time?
the Urban League was established about, it wasn't here when I first came, the Urban League. It was, what year was that?
Was the NAACP here at that time?
Oh, shortly after I came here, there was an Urban League and a NAACP. The first I remember about the Urban League is Doris Rooks, who came from New York, and she was very active. In fact, yeah, let's see, how did they do that? Doris Rooks.
Was she teaching at that time when she first came here?
A teacher?
Yeah.
No,
No,
not in
okay.
the school, no.
Oh, okay, now, tell me this. Did you go out at night and move around and feel you were safe?
Didn't go out too much because there was
Nothing to do?
nothing to do. We had house parties, and those were, you know, we made our own entertainment.
Tell me this, do you remember some of the things some of the places you couldn't go because you were African American around here in the city? Did you ever travel to North Muskegon?
No.
Did you ever travel to, well, Norton Shores wasn't existing at that time.
No, that was just
A field, huh?
here.
Yeah, a
Woods.
farming community. All right. Okay, then how did the police treat were there any black policemen?
There was one black policeman on the force, and his name was,
That wasn't Spencer, was it?
I think there was one before Spencer,
All right.
but I can't remember.
Okay. And so you felt safe in moving around. How about where you shopped? Where did you shop at?
Down on Western, there were stores, you know, like department stores.
There's no segregation in shopping?
No, you were free to move about in downtown.
How about the movie houses?
There was no segregation in movie houses.
There was no segregation in movie houses? All right. Now, how about going to the schools now? There was one, Muskegon and Muskegon Heights were the big part of where African Americans went to school,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no problems? Well, there were problems, but at least we functioned.
In the, yes, it was
In
not segregated. It was not a school for
Yeah.
blacks and a school for whites.
All right. How about at that time? What was the price of groceries? Can you remember that?
No, I don't remember, you know, whether they were high or...
Well, they're cheaper than they are now.
Oh, yes, but people in Muskegon Heights, the people who live here in Muskegon Heights were all working, and so they had money, income sufficient to feed their families, and but they were not allowed to live. They did not live in
white people.
in the white section.
Yeah. Okay, now, in getting around the area, did you have adequate buses, or did you have streetcars then?
We had buses.
Mm-hmm. And you could get around pretty well?
In the buses, if you didn't have a car.
Yeah. All right, now, how about, did they pay you a fair salary when you came up?
I thought it was.
You thought you
Yeah.
could live on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, where'd you come from?
I came from Michigan City, Indiana.
Oh.
And Michigan City, Indiana is about 60 miles from Chicago.
Well, just for the audience to know, Gladys's brother was the mayor of
Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana. What was his name?
Richard Hatcher.
Richard Hatcher. Some might have heard of him, and they were real close. And I used to kind of keep up with the politics of Gary through Gladys.
He was the first black mayor. Him and Mr. Stokes from Cleveland.
Cleveland, yes.
They both were elected mayor. He was elected Cleveland mayor, and Richard was elected Gary mayor in 1968.
That seems so far away, but it's just yesterday.
Yes, and Richard was elected 5 times after that. The mayor term was 4 years, so he served 20 years as mayor of Gary.
Where is he now?
He's in Gary, still involved in community activities.
Yeah.
And he also teaches at Valparaiso University.
Valparaiso, yeah.
That's where he
yeah.
got his law degree from.
I remember he was right in the news then. Tell me this. What did you, when you first came here, what did you think of Muskegon?
It was pretty much like
Rural?
where I came from, which was Michigan City.
Were there more black people in Michigan City or in Muskegon?
There were more in Michigan City.
Because you had a foundry there, didn't you?
Pullman Standard.
Oh, yeah.
That's
the
where
Pullman.
my father worked.
Yeah,
And they made boxcar wheels.
yeah. And he later put them on trains and
Freight trains.
yeah, and the first black union was with the Pullman Company when on the trains.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what did the city of Muskegon look like when you came?
City of Muskegon? Or
Heights.
Heights.
Yeah.
I remember there was a one grocery store, and I walked from Fairview Homes, my Fairview Homes apartment, through the woods to this grocery store.
Was it run by black folks?
No.
No. Okay.
And as for the prices, I don't know
Yeah,
that,
you don't remember.
that they were any. They were.
You felt they were reasonable, huh?
I didn't question it.
You
I
didn't
didn't question it.
That's where you had to go.
That's what.
Along that line. From what I can gather, there was a lot of trees around during that time, and there was a lot of dirt roads.
Yeah, it was not developed until later. Few people built their own homes, and they built them in these clear,
Yeah. Was Campbell's already built when you came here?
Yes.
They were built right down the street. Yeah, they were already, and of course Lakey's was already built.
Lakey's, and that's where many of my tenants worked at Lakey's and Camel and Cannon, and there was another one. Well, there was several more.
It just closed. There was another one on the lake, owned by a guy named Otto. I don't know Otto, got his last name, but that was another foundry here. And the court, I think, what was the place that made the tanks? I think they had a foundry too. What was that? But we mainly worked in the foundry, huh?
Factories.
Factory, yeah.
And they made good money, for that. So, I mean, the wages, I guess, were...
Well, they were, what had happened, a lot of our people came up from the south, and they got the $5 a day plus salary, and some were only making as low as 50 cents a day in the south. So they came here to a fairly decent income. The only thing was that they had no housing. See, you became, I'm going to say this, the queen of the housing, because you enabled them to have decent housing.
Right, and it was the best housing that many of them had ever known, in the South. We had coal stove for heat. We had heaters there was a coal company here that supplied the coal for those.
I think it was right around here.
Yeah, it was.
In fact, we used to weigh our patients that were over 250. We'd send them down here to be weighed on the scale because we didn't have a scale big enough.
Oh.
And I called him one day, the owner, and he said, yes, you can send your patients down here. And so that's the way we knew how they weighed on there. So it was. I remember when that was here, when I first came here.
What year did you come?
1960.
1960.
So you got a few years ahead of me.
Oh, yeah.
And so I came here and I fell in love with the lake.
Yes, that was a big attraction.
Was there, could you freely go out to the lake?
Yes.
No one stopped you or anything on there. Okay, now how were the police to you? Were they kind or indifferent?
Well, I would say that they were kind. I mean, they did their job, what they were supposed to do. And, I mean, they didn't, that I know of, pick on
For race.
races.
Yeah. How were the children when you came here? The young people, we'll say.
Mm.
See, I asked you that question because everyone's always saying that young people doing this and the young people doing that. They're not like the young people like they used to be. And so I'd like to see what you thought of the young people that was here, especially the young African Americans.
I can't remember any outstanding problem with the young people.
So it was a little different world from what we live in now, huh?
Oh yes, I had a son he went to school, and I had no problem with him as a young. He was not a teenager yet. He was only about 8 or 9, and I just don't remember that there was a lot of. I know there was not a lot of crime and violence in the street from the young people.
I guess there was a lot of people always on the street because people did a lot of walking now.
Yeah, because they didn't have
cars
like they do now.
Yeah, on that.
And yes, I remember walking from Fairview Homes with hubby and Getty down to Western, downtown. That's about 3 miles, about 3 miles. I remember walking that all the time to go downtown.
Okay, tell me more. Now, I was told that people, especially in Muskegon, that African Americans would have little stores on their porch, and or they'd have a barber shop in their house and things like that. Do you know anything about that? See, there was the bottom, they used to call it down there.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think where I had my hair done. In somebody's house, somebody who
Had a little business right in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was told a restaurant, you couldn't go into the white restaurant, and that people had little restaurants in their house, like, and you went in there if you wanted to eat, but you could not go in any of the so-called white restaurants, and in the larger restaurants.
There weren't any in Muskegon Heights that I recall in the restaurants, but people did their barbecuing in their backyards, you know, and yeah, as I said, I remember that one grocery store. It was down on Hoyt Street.
And that kind of supplied you what you need.
Needed as far as food, groceries go.
were you very involved very much in African American politics?
I remember working in the Urban League and the NAACP to get things, to get people, black people hired in the different I remember a dairy company
Oh, yeah.
that we bought milk and stuff from, but they didn't have any black employees.
Was that the dairy company that later on they boycotted?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was through the NAACP, I think.
That they had a boycott and they hired.
Got that changed.
Yes, because I think just before I came in '60 that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
That one of the, I think it was Donald Cheeks that got hired as a milkman.
Yes.
And the town was quite elated for that. Yeah. Well,
that was a...
the politics were beginning to develop around there and so on. Tell me the politics of the black church when you were in the church here.
My church is the Methodist Church, and they didn't do, I don't remember.
You didn't raise much Cain as the Baptist, huh?
Huh?
I said you didn't raise much Cain as the Baptist church.
Well, the Baptist
Wasn't here.
Yeah, I guess it was here, but they weren't raising any Cain.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Take your time, honey. It's no hurry. We got all day, and we want to squeeze that history you have in you out.
I don't seem to have much. I don't remember what, like, where did I go to get my hair done? I know it was in a house, It was
Yeah, it wouldn't. It would. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me about the young African American ladies. Did you have much dealings with them?
The ladies?
Yes. We always talk about the males and what the males did. What were the young ladies doing that came up? The married ones and the unmarried ones and so on.
We played cards, got together and played cards in each other's.
The main thing was playing cards, huh?
I wouldn't, let's see, what, you mean for entertainment?
Yes. What was the main entertainment? The house parties and the cards playing?
I would say the house parties.
And maybe remember this, of course it's back in the 30s, but Ruby Brown was the first student at Muskegon High School, and he was the first African so-called football player on the team. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. But I'm sure, I came in 1943, and he was already set up in that, what do you call it? Down there.
Cafe, a bar.
Yeah.
He was running that, and that's where they had a lot of dances and things.
Well, later on, they were dancing at the down on Western. I remember James Griffin sponsored a lot of dancing, bringing in black orchestras from out of town, you know. Oh, I can't remember the name of the place, but that was a big...
You know, they, back when you came, they had a lot of house parties to pay rent. They call them rent parties. You remember those?
Yeah.
Did you go to some of them?
No.
Why? Because they were rough?
Did I go to?
Yeah.
No,
you see, you go in and pay them $1, and they let you in and give you a little meal.
I don't remember anything.
You don't remember that, huh?
I didn't participate in the house parties.
Yeah.
Because I had a good job.
You were a quiet little African-American woman.
I was pretty quiet, yeah.
Yeah. See, well, you made a big mark on this town. A lot of the people have a lot of respect for you, because you came here and worked hard.
Their grandchildren, I run into their grandchildren now, and they tell me who they are, and I remember that they are the grandchildren of some of my tenants, and some of them turned out pretty good.
Oh yeah, a lot of our people turned out quite well with all the
Despite
adversities and things you'd
Yes.
have that would happen. Did you ever have any problems in Muskegon Heights?
Not with, well, problems. Not that, I didn't have any.
You didn't have
I
any?
didn't have any problems in Muskegon Heights.
I guess you remember when we had a rent strike over at the projects, and you took over from the manager there, and we got rid of him and put you in there. You remember that? Remember when you had that job? You became the golden lady in the Heights, and you took over the job from the manager.
And it was Paige Brown.
Well, this was was that a white manager?
No.
This was the white manager. Remember you took it over? You were the assistant director. And we had a big, in the 60s, we had a big strike in which people held their money. And we kept their money. We had about 50,000.
This is they kept their money from the project?
Yes, and they kept it in the bank, and the government told us we could keep the money in the bank, but if we spent it, we would be criminally liable. And we kept the money in the bank, and one of our selling points was that you would become the manager. Do you remember that?
Tell me why. Why were they withholding the rent money?
Because they wanted to get rid of the manager, and he wouldn't quit, and the government wouldn't fire him, so they refused to pay rent. So the people wouldn't get thrown out. The leaders of the movement took the money, took their regular rent pay that they would normally pay a month to the office there, and they put it in the bank, and they kept records of it, and they wouldn't give the money up. We were going to court if we had to give the money's up, and we wanted you as be the new manager, and you were the assistant manager. You don't remember that?
I remember when I became assistant manager.
And then you became manager.
But I don't remember this Yeah, I became the
manager, and it came all out of that. We called it kind of like a boycott. And there was one person living there that was running the boycott and collecting the money. And that we were trying to get you in there, and they didn't want to change, even though there was a lot of negative things on the present manager. And one was he was discriminating, and so we were fighting that. And the other thing, he just wasn't doing his job like he should. You don't remember?
I don't remember that.
That time, huh?
No.
Well, I remember it so well.
In the 60s it was.
Yeah, it was in the 60s. See, that's how you got to know me well then. When I got involved in that. And then they got rid of him. We turned the money over to the government, and you ran it for a number of years. Didn't you retire from there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, you ran it. That was in the 60s. When did you retire?
1984.
Yeah. See, you've been there a long time, and I remember that was a real strong point, because it kind of pulled the people together there, and you were such a quiet, dainty African woman, and we did very well. It was something like a black fairy tale, where things got fine, taken care of, and until you retired.
I know, I worked hard too. I mean, I wanted to make that public housing something that the Heights could be proud of. I wanted it to stick out like a sore thumb, but in a good way.
Yes.
And so, but I had a lot of problems with tenants not wanting to keep up in their property and keep it like it should be, you know. I didn't like having curtains blowing out of the windows, because they've taken the screens out, you know. I didn't like to have barbecue pits in the front yard, because on the back we had a nice backyard, and there was space there for them to, that's where the garbage cans were, and there was room back there for them to have their barbecue pits instead of on the front street, in the front yard.
So you had to struggle with that.
I had to struggle with that, yeah. And they wanted to, well, most of them were from the South, and in the South, to them, grass was a dirty word, grass. So I had a lot of trouble trying to get them to keep their yards nice, because the place was landscaped real nice. Now this is after Fairview Homes became East Park Manor, public housing, permanent. Fairview Homes was temporary, and then the government built East Park Manor, which was brick and well landscaped, and I wanted to make it real, you know.
Real jazzy, real home, but having some style to it.
I wanted people to, and most of the tenants were proud to be there, and they kept the place up nice. But there were a lot of them who just didn't care.
Well, we sometimes, where people come, we have to kind of train them and teach them and to know why we're doing this and how it makes you feel. Sometimes it's a struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, and if we don't struggle to help change it, you know, in that struggle is a lot of love. And if we don't struggle and put that love in there, then people don't seem to want to change so much. And that's a big problem when you're dealing with a lot of people, how you can get to love each other so they want to help each other and go from there. And that's a big struggle. And some of us been trying to do it a lifetime. You've been trying to do it a lifetime.
Yes.
And you've been with your quiet voice.
Well, I didn't have the problem. I retired in 1984, and the drug problem was just beginning to show up in the housing project. It was just beginning to show up. So I didn't go through that drug thing, you know, with the tenants.
Now you watch it.
I watch it, and it saddens me, you know, when people are so
not caring either for themselves or each other. Yeah. All right. Well, it's been so nice to have you. You're a fixture in the community, honey, and it's wonderful that you came to the museum, because you're not only part of the old, but you're also in the new.
Well,
and we appreciate it very much.
Commend you for getting this, doing this.
Yeah, but you've been an inspiration.
I know you didn't do it by yourself. I know you had people helping you.
Yeah.
But I'm real proud of this.
Thank you. And we're proud to have you. Incidentally, we had earlier talked about Gladys in the museum. Gladys was one of the first citizens, African-American citizens, that when she heard we were going to have a museum, she sent some historical pieces over to us. And we just love her for that. And every once in a while we drag her down here. We hope when she gets about 110 she'll come back. All right.
Well, you'll have to drag me in 110.
All right, then.
I can hardly make it now, but I'm glad that I lived to see this.
Yeah, and if I get 100 or 99 like you, and I got much to say and much to think about, I'll be grateful.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you.
Yeah.